Picture this. You sit down at your computer, crack your knuckles, and open up a personal project you haven't touched in, 6 months? You scroll through the lines of code, and boom, a cold sweat breaks out. You realize you have absolutely no idea what any of this does. You can't even understand your own code. Or, hey, imagine landing your dream job at a tech company only to find that thousands of lines of messy, disorganized code make debugging literally impossible? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to arm you with the ultimate developer's survival checklist. Professional developers at tech giants, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they don't just write code that functions. They write clean, readable, and maintainable code, and we're going to break down exactly how you can do the absolute same, starting right from your very first project. So let's dive right in with the absolute golden rule of programming. And it goes like this. Code is read more often than it is written. When you're a new developer, you might think your main job is just, typing out commands for the computer to execute. But honestly, your code is going to be read, reviewed, and updated constantly by your team members, and most importantly, by your future self. Every single time you take an extra minute to format things clearly, the person you're saving from a massive debugging headache later on is you. All right, here's our survival checklist for today. First, the readability rule. Then, naming conventions, self-explanatory code, handling errors, small functions, and finally, project in progress. Let's get to it. Number 1, the readability rule, structuring for humans. Now, you might be wondering, how do we actually do that? Well, it's wild how a simple early choice can totally dictate the quality of your software. Take hard-coding values everywhere, for example. It is a classic beginner mistake. Imagine typing the exact same tax rate number or a specific file path, like 20 times throughout your script. If that number ever changes, you have to hunt down every single instance. It's a total maintenance nightmare. The professional approach is way better. Define a clear constant at the very top of your file and just use that instead. Simple choices like proper formatting, consistent spacing, and using constants instantly elevate your software's maintainability. It's a real game changer. Number 2, naming conventions. Industry standards. Consistency makes a project look instantly professional. And different languages have different industry standards. If you're writing in JavaScript, you're going to commonly use camel case, where the first word is lowercase and every subsequent word gets capitalized. Python developers, they generally prefer snake underscore case, using lowercase words separated by underscores. And then there's Pascal case, where literally every word is capitalized. Honestly, whichever language you're learning, just find its standard and stick to it religiously. And really, why do those naming conventions matter so much in practice? Well, a badly named variable, like just calling something X or data, might technically execute perfectly fine. The computer doesn't care, but using meaningful names that describe exactly what the data holds, that makes the code's function immediately obvious. Good programmers do not want to play guessing games. Actually, let me rephrase that. Clear, descriptive names save future developers a ton of translation time and mental energy, period. Number 3, self-explanatory code, making sure the code explains itself. There is a huge beginner trap out there, and it's excessive, unnecessary comments that just describe completely obvious code. Listen, if your variable is beautifully named, you really don't need a comment explaining what it is. The ideal goal is clean, self-explanatory code. Sometimes, beginners try to write incredibly complicated, advanced-looking one-liners just to prove how smart they are, and then they have to write a massive paragraph just to explain what that one line actually does. Scratch that approach. Remember, readability should absolutely always take priority over unnecessary complexity. Write simple logic and just let the clean code speak for itself. Number 4, handling errors. Building reliable software. Professional developers know one thing for sure. Things will inevitably go wrong. Programs absolutely must handle unexpected situations, like, say, a dropped database connection or a user typing a letter instead of a number, instead of just completely crashing the whole shebang. By using simple tools like try-catch blocks, you can catch these issues before they break the system. This ensures that a single, tiny bug doesn't bring down your entire application. Honestly, building this single habit massively improves your software's reliability. Number 5, small functions. Isolating your logic. Okay, so the biggest mistake beginners make is writing one gigantic, unmanageable function that tries to do everything all at once. Logging the user in, processing their payment, updating the database, sending an email, all in one massive block. When that breaks, and it will, where do you even start looking? Instead, you really got to surgically split your logic. Step 1, isolate the login. Step 2, separate the payment. Step 3, handle the database elsewhere. And step 4, keep your notifications in their own corner. Breaking it down into small functions makes things drastically easier to debug, way easier to test, and most importantly, easier to reuse. And speaking of reusability, that brings us to a really fundamental concept, the DRY principle. That stands for don't repeat yourself. If you ever find yourself copying and pasting the exact same chunk of logic into multiple places in your project, stop. Just stop. That duplicate code increases your maintenance difficulty exponentially. Why? Because if you need to fix a bug, you have to remember to fix it in 5 different places. Instead, lean on classes, modules, and libraries to write it once and reuse it. It saves a ton of development time and keeps the whole project super clean. Number 6, project in progress, organizing your files. Think about it like this. A large software project is kind of like a massive library. If all the books were just thrown onto the floor in one giant pile, nobody could find anything, right? Dividing your project into properly formatted folders, modules, components, and separate files absolutely stops your file structure from becoming a total navigation nightmare. Good project structure means that you, or even a brand new team member, can logically guess exactly which folder contains the database logic and which one holds the user interface. It just makes sense. Now, while you're building out those nice, neat folders, you absolutely must secure your progress. Using version control tools like Git and GitHub, that isn't just an optional extra for when you become an advanced coder. No way. It is a mandatory day one best practice. Version control lets you manage your project history professionally. It acts a lot like a time machine for your code, allowing you to track every single change, collaborate with others safely, and, this is huge, instantly roll back to a previous version if an update goes terribly, terribly wrong. So we've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, from naming variables to using version control. But it all comes back to this incredibly powerful summary quote from our source material. Anyone can write code that computers understand, but great programmers write code that humans understand easily. That is the ultimate overarching goal of clean coding. Look, the computer doesn't care about elegance or folders or clever names, but the humans building, fixing, and scaling that software, they absolutely do. Clean coding isn't just a strict set of rules. It's a professional habit that you develop through consistent practice. The more projects you build, the better your coding style is going to become. But it all starts with intention. So I have to ask, what is your favorite clean coding practice? Seriously, I want you to mentally commit to just one of the habits we've covered today. Whether it's banishing hard-coded values, switching over to meaningful variable names, or finally sitting down to learn Git, pick just one to implement in your very next coding session. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy
If you
coding.
enjoyed this video and learned something new, like this video, comment your favorite programming language, subscribe to Future Break Coder, because many exciting coding and futuristic tech videos are coming soon.